Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world. Coming up, thanks to Covid-19, we are now experiencing the worst global financial crisis since the Great Depression. The International Monetary Fund is calling for a more inclusive economic recovery, and I'll be talking shortly to IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva. Also, we meet the Afghan teenager conquering the world's highest peaks while overcoming extraordinary obstacles placed in her path. But first, here in Europe, a second wave is unfolding, with governments once again seeking to impose curfews and partial lockdowns. In using mobile phone data, the International Monetary Fund has found lockdowns tend to have a larger effect on women's mobility than men's. And their research has also confirmed women suffer more from job losses in contact-intensive sectors such as retail, tourism and hospitality. As well, the responsibility to look after children when schools close still falls mainly on the shoulders of women. Joining me now from Washington, DC is the IMF's Managing Director, Kristalina Georgieva. Thank you so much for your time. Here in Paris, we are now dealing with a nighttime curfew, and IMF research is showing that lockdowns may aid economic recovery by helping to reduce infections, thus leading to a short and sharp downturn, but they disproportionately harm women and young people. But if public health systems are facing collapse, what choices are there?
What we need to recognize is that women are not only disproportionately impacted, they are in the contact-dependent industries, as you have indicated. They carry more of the burden of work at home. Even before the pandemic, 2.7 hours on average, women would work more in household duties. Now this is going up to 4 hours on average. But women are also essential to protect the health of all of us. 70% of the health workers that are the frontline workers in the pandemic are women. So when we think about what must be done, there are three very important actions for governments. One, prioritize public spending for health systems. Make sure that money is available for doctors, for nurses, for the hospitals. Two, continue to work towards a durable solution. And we know that vaccines are advancing. We are not there yet. I personally have a strong belief in the strength of innovation. But when vaccines are available, they have to be available everywhere. And one of the calls in our annual meetings has been about global cooperation on access to vaccines. And three, we have to recognize that this is a pandemic in which each and every one of us has a role to play.
So what can the IMF do to ensure that governments all over the world pursue economic policies that emphasise gender equality as they rebuild their economies?
We are zeroing on very important steps to make it possible for gender equality to be integrated in economic policy. The first and most important one of them is disaggregated data. If women are invisible, then policies can not target support for them. And we have made a very concise effort to have this gender disaggregated data. On that basis comes the second step, which is gender-based budgeting. Governments can follow on policies that make it possible for women to work and to ease the burden on their shoulders. For example, when we have in the budget planning process attention to childcare, and it is made available and accessible, then more women would have a chance to work. Or, especially in developing countries, when attention is paid to have safe roads for women, access to water, all the things that reduce the burden on women. And last but not least, put more money in the hands of women. Have programs that make financial inclusion of women reality.
But with so many governments in crisis mode, how do you make them understand that this is vital, especially when so many of the world's politicians are men?
Well, the book on gender equality as good economics has been written, and it is paramount that governments read it. It is simply good for the well-being of nations that women are given equal access to opportunities. In other words, they are educated, they are given equal rights in terms of being able to work, and that they're given the opportunity to be entrepreneurs, to expand our economy. You're right to point out that we still are in a world that is primarily man-dominated, but this is changing. You look at the key appointments that have been made over the last year. The President of the European Commission, a woman. The President of the European Central Bank, a woman. The head of the IMF, a woman. There is, of course, a reason for that. There is a very good reason for that, and it is Eleanor Roosevelt who clearly defined it. She said, women are like tea bags. You don't know how strong they are until you put them in hot water. Now the world is in hot water, it needs its women.
Well, some horrific statistics are starting to emerge. For instance, in America, more than 860,000 women dropped out of the labour force in the US in September. That's an extraordinary figure. How is that going to reshape the workforce in not only the world's richest country, but in countries across the globe?
Short term, indeed, we see the impact on women in terms of unemployment being more severe than the impact on men. I was in a virtual meeting with the South Pacific, and the report there is that, for example, in Samoa, out of the unemployed due to the pandemic, 64% are women. So you're right, it is happening everywhere, and it is particularly dramatic in many developing countries. When we are looking at ways to support the economy through social protection, as well as through retraining and giving opportunities, we do have to pay attention on does that benefit women. But longer term, there may be also positive impacts of the reshaping of the world economy becoming more digital. It may become easier for women to step into economic activities with flexible work hours and the ability to balance more easily their responsibilities towards their families and opportunities to work. What we need to concentrate on is make sure that it is visible, make the fate of women visible, and on that basis, pursue policies that are inclusive for women.
Thank you so much for your time, Kristalina Georgieva.
Thank you.
Now to Afghanistan, where one woman is scaling societal stigmas to conquer the world's highest peaks. Fatima Soltani has already completed some of the globe's most difficult climbs, as Fraser Jackson reports.
She has been on Afghanistan's national jiu-jitsu team since she was 11, but now 18-year-old Fatima Soltani has even loftier ambitions. Along with her team of 9 young mountaineers, 3 of them women, she is tackling Afghanistan's highest mountains.
My main goal is to show the world that Afghan women are strong and can do the same difficult things that men do. When I saw foreign women coming here to conquer the high peaks of Afghanistan, I thought, why can't we Afghan women conquer these peaks in our own backyard?
The Covid-19 pandemic hasn't stopped her enjoying the great outdoors. Afghanistan is regarded as one of the best places in the world to go mountain climbing. And so far, Fatima's team has climbed 4 of the country's highest peaks, including Noshak Peak in the Hindu Kush mountain range in the country's north, at a height of just under 7,500 meters. In the conservative Muslim country, women's rights have been slowly increasing since the Taliban was removed from power in 2001. But with US-backed peace talks with the group ongoing, many, including Fatima's father, worry about things returning to how they were during the Taliban's rule.
I have not imposed any restrictions on Fatima doing sports. I told her, you are free to do whatever sport you want to, even mountaineering. Some people who have become famous in the community or who have done noteworthy things have been assassinated by the Taliban, so I worry about Fatima's safety.
But politics isn't dampening Fatima's ambitions. She already has her sights set on conquering Mount Everest, the world's highest peak.
And that's it for this edition. You can also connect with us via our Facebook page, that of course being France24.51%, or do send us a tweet at _51%. So until our next show, bye for now.